feel like I'm right in the sun, which I think is lovely for me, but maybe not the best for the video. So I'll scoot back some. Okay. Peace and greetings, peace and greetings. Um, how are you doing today? Pray you're well. It is steadily getting sunnier and sunnier and better. I recorded this video at a different time than I usually do, so now all I can hear in my head is Frankie Beverly and Maze with as the golden time of day because it is clearly golden. So I wanted to ask a question of you and to encourage you. There are some, I want you to think about this for the duration of this sharing today is where, as a child, did you find the most joy and wonder and safety and all of those things in nature? Where was that for you? What's funny for me is a lot of the things that were joyous to me in nature as a child are a lot of the things that I've been returned to in traditional practice as an adult. Um, we lived in the Midwest, so we weren't near an ocean. We weren't near, Lake Michigan's in Chicago, but we were in the burbs. And so it's not like we had abundant water. Here in Virginia, there's so many bodies of water to go to that we cross over. Um, But water was so big for us, just like most children. Every time we would go somewhere, my parents would find the pool, they'd take us to the pool. We played in the sprinklers a lot. We had slip and slides. My parents spent oodles of money on all the, excuse me, on all the little crazy looking sprinklers that would spin and look like little snakes and all that stuff. And we had a ball. So water was a very big thing for me. Um, when you're playing outside a lot, all sorts of things become um, very magical. And so different kinds of rocks, like to find quartz rocks in the earth, like if we found a particularly sparkly rock, I was so excited. Um, to watch the ants, pay attention to them moving. My mother had peonies, and they would open up with ants. A crabapple tree in the back that the ants used to move over it to make it open up. Um, Flowers, all of those things. And so to become an adult, and one of the very first things that I experienced in the way of messages as an initiated priest was hearing the ants. In the particular thing I was doing, I was not listening for the ants. I was listening for something else, but the ants were talking. And I mean, like, I could hear the messages that were coming from the ants. I don't even remember what it is now because I know I wrote it down in my journal. But I think about that now and I think about my fascination with the ants when I was little, watching them through magnifying glasses when they would move up and down the block, trying to put something in their way to see if they'd move around it. And then water, my understanding of water as I've gotten older, and how much of me is comprised of water, the water that is included in health and wellness and birth and all those things. And then, of course, in the tradition that I'm in, asul is the term that is used for water and for many of the deities that are connected to the water, because asul is the river. And when you live in a place, like we talked about earlier this week, where something is sustenance, protection, wonder, um, very useful, life sustaining, then of course, your deities would be reflected in whatever that is. And so, in um, many of the bosom that I've been exposed to thus far, because I'm still a very young priest, is are named Asul. They're related to Asul. There are bodies of water in Ghana that, like I talked about earlier, that have um, the names of shrines attached to them, where Bosoma are recognized in that place, are honored in that place. So those things, returning to coming to African tradition, African traditional systems and practices. returned me to myself. I think about places in between, like when I was, as they would like to say, a Jesus freak in college, and still spent time standing out behind my apartment with one of my friends watching turtles. Um, watching turtles, paying attention to the trees, being, as they would say in the 90s, a tree hugger. as, or as one of my friends used to say, one of those crunchy granola people. They also called us the incense and oil crowd. But all of those things, even the my affinity for sweet smells, for candles and oils and those kind of things, which were not allowed to be burned in my house of origin, are such a central part um, of the tradition that I'm practicing. And you saw that a lot in Ghana. I may have started in the house with frankenmyrrh or palo or sage, and then brought it out with me to share with you. And so returning to this has allowed me to, pun intended, put my feet flat on the earth, to ground myself in myself and returning to that. So the question that I want to repeat again is, what was it for you as a child that brought you wonder and joy, that brought you magic and knowing? Where could you be? Was it the top of a tree? Was it laying belly down on the grass? Was it looking at bugs and insects? Is it laying on your back watching the clouds, feeling the sun on your face? Was it playing with a pet? Like there's so many places in the world that when we allow our children to be connected, they are truly connected and can disappear into those spaces. Um, and so I want to ask you, what is that space for you? Where can you remember feeling like time didn't exist, feeling very connected, not even to the name of a creator, Bosom, Odumakama, Odumare, the Great Mystery, not even to a name, but just that feeling of being full, of feeling like your energy was pulsing, that your blood was pumping. Sometimes it's the running, sometimes it's the playing, it's the giggles, and bike riding, feeling the wind going past my face. But all of those things in nature that allowed us to feel connected, um, and connected in every sense of the word that that would allow, connected to ourselves, to creation, to the creator, to each other, to other children. I'm sure many people have heard, you smell like outside. My mother used to say when we came inside, we smelled like a bunch of puppies. This before body odor hit, before we were teenagers, but to be outside and just play until you smelled like dirt and sweat. Um, it's very freeing and liberating, and that space still exists for us. Is why I asked that question. I remember, I remember being in college. Pirate. I remember being in college and visiting my aunt's place in North Carolina, and my cousin and I, my cousin got it in her mind. We were like 17, 18 years old, somewhere in there, or 18, 19, somewhere. I don't think we had cracked 20 yet, but she got it in her mind that we should make mud pies, and we made mud pie. And just the squish of the mud pies, the coolness of the mud pies. We threw mud pies at the fence to hear them splat, the sound of the mud pies. Um, I'm appreciative that where I am has returned me to myself in that way, has allowed me to not be so disconnected that I can't feel the rhythm of the world that is around me and inside of me. Um, I want to assert, suggest, just share that the imagination that we had as children is regulation. And that imagination, I can see SpongeBob going, what does he do? Imagination. But that that space of imagination and creation and being in the zone, all the things that adults call these things now, is also nervous system regulation. You don't have the words for that, but you know the freedom it feels to be outside and play. The freedom it feels. We used to. I'm really in that really in this sunbeam. The freedom. I remember one time hearing the ice cream truck, and with no shoes, we were digging change out of Daddy's junk drawer and booking, running down the street, no shoes, chasing the ice cream truck. The ability to feel your body in that way, to feel the movement of your limbs, not to have to think about it. Sometimes I exercise now and I'm like, ooh, Lord, okay, knees, come on, knees. Um, but to not have to do that, and so that imagination, that creation is nervous system regulation, and I encourage you to find it again. So I ask you again, where, as a child, did you feel that connection with nature, with yourself, with other children? Where did you find that wonder and that peace, that safety, that grandiose smallness? Um, the other thing that I appreciate, and I think I mentioned this in the playlist about coming from the church to traditional system, is I appreciate that there's so many things in traditional practice that aren't. I don't know what the quote unquote big things are, but some of the regular everyday things are things that remind me and connect me to nature. And I think I've shared when we go over a body of water, there's a particular blessing we have recognizing the water, the spirit in the water, greeting, blessing. Um, when hmm, when there is an animal, when there's roadkill in the street, which has always made me sad. And so now to be able to be in the place where there's a blessing that's said to the road for the roadkill, for the offering of that roadkill in the street, um, because it's an offering, because it's on a roadway which is connected to many different shrines, Bosom, Orisha, that we give thanks for that offering, that we pray it a blessing for us, for whomever else. And so it makes the reverence of the life of that animal, um, the blessing of the life of that animal, very, very prominent. And it's not lightly taken. Um, it is an awareness that the Bosom and the ancestors are always working for our good, looking out for us, and it's our part to play in recognizing that blessing and being grateful for that blessing. So I'll end with the question one more time: Is where for you as a child did you have that imagination and creation that was self-regulation, and can you access it again? The answer is yes. Yes, you can answer it and access it again. I just want you to think of how. So as this weather warms up in many different parts of the U.S., and even if you're not in the U.S., um, spend some time outside. Go touch grass. Put your feet in the earth. Um, spend some time. Spend some time connecting to yourself. All right. This is Reverend Okonkwo Morning Yogi Sister Mama Adia saying peace.